Tuesday morning. Welcome back to the final episode of this season of Her Bold Voice. And I was just saying to my friend, but Yolanda, you and I met here on LinkedIn.
We did. Isn't that
And
crazy?
and we only live 20 minutes apart. I love when things like that happen. We met here over our post a couple years ago, and come to find out she's 20 minutes from me. And we probably could have done this in my home or your home this morning together. We would have had a blast. But welcome back to another Her Bold Voice. This is the last Her Bold Voice episode of this season. And I just want to say this is the place, the safe, sacred place where I showcase some very fascinating, high achieving women. And there's also a place for an amazing, good choice of men. And I did have a male on here. And yes, in my coaching practice, I do work with men. So there's always a place for men as well. This is not, I don't want this to feel like the little rascals, the little rascals, no girls allowed, girls keep out. This is not a boys keep out. Okay. So I'm going to jump on in because one of my most favorite topics today, saved one of the best topics for last here today on Her Bold Voice, was how to sell when you're not salesy. And I think this is a huge issue with women and all the societal external stuff that we go through for on selling. So let me introduce you to my amazing guest. Please meet Yolanda Spearman. She is a dynamic force in the world of sales leadership. As a seasoned sales leader, she not only excels in driving results, but also inspires teams with infectious energy, and I can vouch for that as well, and a positive spirit. Known for transforming challenges into opportunities, Yolanda Spearman has a unique ability to uplift and motivate those around her. Yolanda is a captivating voiceover talent. Yes, she is, lending her vibrant voice to projects that resonate with diverse audience, having collaborated with the notable names like BET, Netflix, Wayfair, Microsoft, Salesforce, Walmart, Spotify, Progressive, Amazon, and AT&T. And watch out, there's more coming down the pipes for Yolanda around this. She brings a unique dynamic to every voiceover project. And with a passion for both sales leadership and the art of the spoken word, Yolanda embodies a unique blend of inspiration, vitality, and creativity, leaving an incredible mark wherever she goes. And I'll tell you what, my household, me and my husband are fan clubs of this woman. She's been over
Thank
here
you so much.
plenty of
Thank you so
times.
much.
Welcome, welcome. All right, let's first of all, am I allowed to say the name of your day job?
Well, I am representing, so you can.
Well, then heck, I don't. Okay, so tell me. I know you've been with Harley Davidson for quite some time,
I
and
have.
you are in a very beautiful position. You have a very nice relationship with your direct reports, especially the CEO and stuff. But tell me what you were doing prior to Harley and how you arrived to Harley and your side hustle, the voiceover business.
So I actually started out as, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know. I started out as a teacher. I was a school teacher. I taught elementary. And so I went back to graduate school to get my master's, to get my MBA. And when I went back to get my MBA, my goal was to live somewhere, anywhere but in Detroit, Michigan. Of course, I landed a job with the big three and I ended up right back in Detroit, Michigan. So I started off working at Ford Motor Company. I worked there for about 10 years and I worked in a lot of sales capacities, but I worked in fixed operations. I worked in the Ford division. And then I went back to fixed ops as a leader in fixed operations. And I worked as a retail marketing manager and a business development manager. I did so many fun jobs. And anybody who works in the big three, you know that we don't sit in one job very long. So I was there for 9 years, almost 10. And I think I did about 7 or 8 jobs. It was fantastic.
It's a nice way to get a taste of multiple, things of experiences when you're working for the big three. And of course, if you are working for the big three, FYI, everybody that is listening, you're probably going to be living right here in the Detroit, southeastern Michigan, Detroit, or the surrounding suburbs, because this is automotive industry here. All the big three world headquarters are all right here. So you went from Ford. How did you go from Ford? Well, you went I didn't know you were a school teacher. So from school teaching to the big business of Ford Motor Company, how did you finally transition into Harley and because you've been with Harley for a while now?
Yeah, almost 20 years. Oh, I shouldn't say that out loud. That kinda ages me. But I I actually, wanted to get married, and my husband lived here. So I was dating a person who lived here, and I was relocated again. So those who worked in the automotive space or actually in any OEM, they know that you move a lot. You relocate often. I relocated several times. I lived in Atlanta, I lived in Pittsburgh, I lived in Chicago, and so it was one of those moves. It was my move to Pittsburgh. My now husband was like, can you sit in one place so I can like marry you?" So I was like, shoot, I got to make a decision, career
Mm,
or family. And I chose to have a family, which meant me stepping down as a leader at Ford Motor Company into a role where I was no longer a leader, which was a big thing for me. It was really, really hard to swallow that pill. But my story was still being told, and I had some missing chapters, and those missing chapters involved having a family. And I'm going to talk about that when we talk about selling. It's all about that story.
yep. And it's all about the negotiations. It's not that, a lot of people talk about that work life balance. There isn't such a thing in my world as balance. It's negotiations, having boundaries, know your yes, know your no's, know your whys, and all of that. And sometimes we do have to maybe take a step and just pause for a moment if we want that family. And yes, and so I know you're a very high achiever and you're very driven, and you wear it so well, Yolanda, because I know your children are young. I mean, you have young children that still rely and depend upon you and Mark, their dad. And, so the negotiations and the balancing of everything, you do it really well, though. Because I've gotten to know you, and I want to say you do it very well. But gosh, I mean, here's what I feel when I hear you say, yeah, I wanted to have children. So I had to take a step back with my responsibilities. And it's like, oh, it's too well for me. But just, I want to also acknowledge and have everyone think too, as they're listening, whether they're live or whether it's post and whatever is, not only taking a step back, you first of all, woman of color in corporate leadership, we're still trying to expand and take that equity and make that gap smaller. So I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of a hiccup to have to step back on everything that you've accomplished, but you've had those babies and you're accomplishing more, in my opinion, a lot more than you were then as well. So
Thank you so much for saying that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Let's talk about sales. It's like sale is a nasty four-letter word, or sell is a nasty four-letter word. It's like, let's just say, okay, how do you manage being a sales, you're in a sales leadership position. You're working with your sales folks. And I know you travel. It's not just here in Michigan. You're on the road, planes, trains, automobiles, you go. How do you teach? First of all, how did you evolve that selling is not a salesy thing? And how do you teach your team that?
You know what? That's a really, really good question and a great place to begin because I want people to replace the word sell with serve.
Yes.
Because if you replace the word sell with serve, it's kind of an easy transition because we enjoy serving. And how do we serve? We solve problems. So when we solve problems, we're serving. Those two things, who doesn't want to serve? Who doesn't want to help people solve problems? And who doesn't want to be help a person write the next chapter in their story? So in my world, I look at myself and my team as my opportunity to serve them, to help them solve more problems, which it evolves to optimally being able to help the end user complete their story, right? Because we're all a unique story being told. That's what you do all the time. Even when you have helped me, you've been my coach and you've helped me to help to tell my story better. That is really what selling is. And often we look at it as you got to buy one, you want to buy one, you want to buy one. That's not what it is. It's how can I help you get here? You said that this was missing in your story. I would love to help you write that next chapter. And that is what selling is. So it's not selling, it's serving.
I've been saying that for years. It's not selling, it's serving. It's not selling, it's serving. But again, you have so much dynamics going on. Whether now I'm going to talk from two avatars here, whether it's an entrepreneur like myself, a woman business owner like myself, or a woman who is emerging leader, C-suite. There's so much of selling, and I'll use that word serving, that we do, whether it's walking into a room, doing an introduction of ourselves, walking into a room, doing an introduction of someone else, or discovering to potential clients, to teams. There's so much serving and selling going on every single day. But there's so much of that, I call it that masculine old way of serving it on up. So you've got the dose of desperation. You've got the dose of, oh my gosh, I'm a business owner and I got the electric bill to pay. Oh my gosh, I'm a corporate girl. And you know what? I don't want them chewing me up and spit me out alive. I got numbers to meet. I don't want to be viewed this way. So now we're going to inch into leaving the desperation, going into imposter. And there's a big thing with our gender that women are afraid to frickin' call to action and close the deal with an ask. So and I know there are some men out there too, so I just want to just pick on our gender, but you know, um, how do we get over that? How do we maneuver through that? Especially because back in my corporate days was 100 years ago, my before life when I was a dinosaur. That, it was all masculine ways of selling. I mean, either you get on board with these guys and how they've been doing it, or you're out, you blink and you were out. It was all performance. So, how do you maneuver through that yourself, Yolanda, and get that team so they're not doing it?
You know what? It's a really simple formula, and really what it does is it kinda levels the playing field, and really what it is you listen, you empathize, and then you solve the problem. So you do those 3 things, you listen, you empathize, and you solve the problem. So when you walk in and you are talking to a potential client, it's not about, "You wanna buy one? You wanna buy one? Let's press hard, make 3 copies." Remember that back in the day? Press hard, 3 copies?
Yeah, we just ate it ourselves.
It's not that. It's listen, empathize, solve. So when you listen, you're listening to their story. What is it? What's going on? What's happening? Wow, is that happening in your business? Where do you want to go next, Kim? You want to be the biggest consultant on the planet, the biggest coach on the planet? You want these? Oh, okay. Yeah, what are some of your pain points? What's the strategy to get there? The more the other person is talking, the more you're selling. You got to listen. That's the hardest part. Men, women, they all have that challenge. You gotta listen, and then you have to empathize because you said something really key. What about when you gotta keep the lights on and you're an entrepreneur? I mean, that's real. Okay, you're talking about your thing and it cost me $50,000 and I'm barely gonna make $50,000 this month. No, you have to listen and empathize, which means you have to seek to understand what in the world is going on in this business. Maybe my $50,000 product doesn't fit this customer, but I do have one that's two. No, I don't make as much, but I build a relationship. I
Yes,
build a bridge, not a wall. Because
yes.
if you say 50,000, I'm cutting you off, kicking you out the door because my lights just went off and I'm sitting on the street. As opposed to if I listen, empathize, solve your problem with something that actually fits you. I help to you to continue your narrative, your story, finish your book, your dream.
Yeah. And you added this to that listening piece, and I'm going to add a word to that listening piece is you got to get curious. You got to ask questions
Yes.
because again, we're such a society of here's a great example. Let me hang on to my microphone here and grip it like knuckling grip. So many people connect on LinkedIn and they go either right in the back end and start selling, or they take the email and fill the inbox. And it's like, first of all, number one, you don't know me. And a lot of times when you're in the back end, I can tell you didn't even look at my profile and you still
Correct.
don't even know me from my profile. It's just a damn, it's like a piece of paper. It's just a profile, right? Get to know me. Don't start selling, and get curious. Just get curious and
Oh,
build the relationships. I mean, it's like, so speaking of, like you're in the industry, Harley Davidson, so cars. My last two guys that I bought cars from, I am so loyal to them. This one over here, I ended up doing 2 cars through, and this last one, I'm on my second car through. And I will keep, and if I can't afford with the second one here, I'll go back to the first one, because they're 2 different, brands.
mhm.
I How they treated me, how they stayed within, how what they did, loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Relationship.
Hey, and that's the way we build business and we grow. So people often want to go for the big fish. They're like, I want the big deal. I want the big clothes. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Relationships are made by people buy from people they like, they know, and they trust.
Yes.
And what you said about in the inbox, I hate being spammed. Hi, can I make a connection with you? Sure, I would love to connect. And then all of a sudden, it's like all these things. I hate. It's like, and I tell them, no, not interested. Go away because you didn't earn the right. You didn't earn anything. You didn't earn it. You weren't curious. You said such a key word. I really hope everybody takes something away from that because you got to be curious. That's what helps you listen because you got to ask some questions.
Right.
Listen, be curious. And when you understand, really, you're looking for the problem that you want to solve in that. I mean, you did that with me when we were working together. I was talking to you, sharing with you about all these ideas that were running in my head and I just couldn't get them out. And you said, let me help you with that. Here's what I suggest. How about we do X, Y, and Z? I didn't even ask how much was it. You told me, oh, and by the way, this is what this costs, or we can do this. That's what people have to understand is if you're solving problems, you're selling.
Well, I mean, we all solve problems. We're all selling. Like I said, hello, how are you? My name is Kim Boudreaux Smith. That's basically serving and selling, just doing something as simple as an introduction. Absolutely. That's so. How did you personally learn to serve and sell? Did you take courses? Were there certifications? Were you in jobs where you pushed the sleeves up, got the hands dirty, and got in there and learned and had mentors and things like that?
So I have to tell you, I got some no's. And I'm gonna tell you, I did this at Ford Motor Company. So at Ford Motor Company, they would give us things like, I mean, we had to sell quick lanes, we had to sell parts upgrades, we had to sell things that felt insurmountable. You would walk into a dealership and be like, how am I gonna get this man to build a brick and mortar building, an extra building to do quick service? Nobody's doing that back then. And I was just like, oh shoot, what am I gonna do? This man is not about to open his checkbook for me walking in here saying this is what you should do. So I had to get told no a few times, a whole bunch
Mm.
of times. And once I got told no, I had to figure out from some people who had been doing it for a while, well, how come you were able to get them to say yes and I wasn't? What's the difference? And I listened to somebody's pitch. And it was this guy, his name was Repo. Back in the day, we called him Repo. He worked with us. He sold everything. And we were like, he was a little unassuming guy, glasses, and he giggled. He had a funny giggle. I mean, I was like, how can you sell this? And you know how he sold it? He listened. He was unassuming. He
Mhm.
listened. He would say, I have something for that. He was problem solving. And I was like, ding, 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 duh. It's not rocket science. Solve the man's problem. So don't go to all the people. Like you said, those people in our LinkedIn profiles, they just shooting it out to all the people.
Oh,
Anybody, somebody take the
wow.
bait, please. No, he was strategic. He
Mhm,
went to the people he thought needed what he had to offer.
mhm. Ding, 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 ding. That's winner, winner, chicken dinner, or winner,
Yes.
winner, lobster dinner right there. That is, know where your audience is. If your audience is over here and you're way over here trying to serve and make a living and what all that other stuff, they're not going to buy from you. You're trying to, it's like try square peg, round hole, square peg, round hole. Go to where your audience is and listen and get curious. I just went through an experience where as you know, Yolanda, we are, doing a couple different, we doing up the dining room, which by the way is still empty. We're doing up the dining room and everything. I hired a decorator to help me pull the whole room together. And then once you do that, I can run with the stuff, right? I told her the second she walked in, look, this is round two of doing this stuff. And I am not going over to the design center and spending big top dollars. I want you to know, she came in and she proposed big top dollars. It's like, were you not listening to me? But that's okay. What you're proposing and what I see, I got the vision, and now I can go out there and do this myself and and maneuver and stuff. But it's a real pain point with me when you're point blank saying, we are not doing custom stuff. We are not busting this budget this time. I did it round one, round two. We are going to do this very cost effectively. And I'm looking at all these prices that she's presenting. I'm like, did you not hear me the first time through?
She
Mhm.
wasn't serving, she was
Yeah.
selling.
Yeah.
So
She was
she
telling
didn't listen to who you
me.
were. She didn't have empathy, and she didn't solve. So it was listen, empathize, and solve. She didn't
Yeah.
have any empathy, so she had an agenda. Because what she could have done is said, "This is what we originally were thinking when we walked in your door. But now that I think back to what you said to me, can I go back to the table, to the drawing board, and bring you something that I think really might fit within? Can you give me a budget that you might want to work within?" She could have served you, and you would have a total different conversation today than the one you just had.
Yeah, yeah. Now I've got this yucky taste in my mouth, and and there's a lot of that goes on out there. And I was listening to what you're saying. Listen, empathy, serve. You know what? Less, LES, less.
Oh,
Listen, empathy, serve.
solve the problem.
Solve the
Yes.
problem. Solve.
Yes.
Yep. Less.
Yes.
LES, LES, LES.
I
I'm going
like
to give you
that.
5,000 credits around that one. So with everybody that's listening, whether they're working in organizational or running their own business, what's the first not even I don't want to even say they're a beginner. Let's say they're very established, well into their careers, well into their businesses. But yet they need some tweaking and stuff because maybe things aren't working the same. What would you recommend that they have to that they without you even knowing what's going on with them, some tips around selling so we cannot feel like we're being salesy?
I wanna go back to what you said, because the number one thing is to be curious. So if you're curious, not judgmental, curious. Don't make a decision about who this person is, what they are, and da 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 da. Be curious, not judgmental. If I was them, I would write that down and put it up. Be curious, not judgmental. Because when you're curious, you have a whole different mindset. You're like, huh. You genuinely want to understand more about them, understand their business, understand why they want this. Because
Mhm.
if you don't understand those questions, your offerings often won't meet. For example, even at Harley Davidson, when I walk into a dealer and I'm meeting a dealer principal, I often will take them to the side, and I may have a private conversation. And I ask in that private conversation, what's his vision? What's her vision? Where do you see yourself and what do you want to do next? Do you want to buy more dealerships? Are you getting close to retirement? What are your thoughts? Are you doing succession planning? I am curious about them. And when I say them, I mean them, personal them. Because often we take the business and we make it its own entity, but there's a
Yeah.
person. And the person who has the buying power is often making a decision because of something. And if we don't know that because of, we can't sell effectively because we will never get to the root of why you're even there in the first place, especially if you a cold call in our inbox on LinkedIn.
I roll my eyes. I roll my eyes. Yes, exactly. I get a lot of those. That's another thing too, is really getting to know the person. I mean, this is why, as a business owner, as a coach, we call them discovery calls. Discover what's going on with that person, the pain points, and then if you can solve them. Because I don't know about anyone listening, and I don't know about you, Yolanda. I'm not. I can't coach any. I can't coach everybody. Everybody is not my client, and I can't solve everyone's problems. I only work with ones where they're having specific pain points that I can offer up a solution. All right, I want to shift. One of my favorite places to be, and we've got to have this in order to be out there serving and selling. Let's just get down to mindset. Mindset. So if we're dragging that bag of, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to sound salesy, or I might be fill in the blank, or we got this bag over here and someone may think this of me and fill in the blanks. How do we work on shifting that? Oh, my favorite thing, shifting that mindset.
So you got to get rid of, what is her name? Her name is Hag, right? The
She's
hag in the,
hag. She's
thank you. We got to
hag.
get that hag out the attic, right?
Get that
So
hag
what's
out of there.
the way we get that hag out of the attic is a few ways. So first, if you see yourself as a problem solver or a facilitator, so just if you think about what you have, so here's what you have, here's where this person is, and your product is where I am. You're going to bring those together so that they can have a solution. So if you think of yourself as a facilitator, so you have to use different adjectives sometimes, because sometimes we'll say, okay, we're serving, but that still don't feel good. Okay, well, how about a facilitator? How about you are, so if you can also put your, I was talking to a client of a person one time, and his name is Brett, sorry if you see this, but I was talking to him and he was talking about his team tells stories in the movie industry. So they do, and all they do is trailers, and they do movie trailers, but his client is the person who's trying to get their story told. So what they're selling is the ability to bring their story to life in picture. That's what they're selling. So what you have to do is figure out how you can say, okay, so in his situation, his people are selling the story. We're here to help you tell the story and to write the next chapter so that the world can see your story in picture. When you see yourself in the suit that is for this particular thing, for example, if a Harley Davidson dealership, I know he wants to buy more stores, and I'm coming in and I'm offering Harley Financial Services products. What does that do for him? The money from the products will help him do what? Buy more stores. So I'm a conduit. I am the person that says, hey, I'm the ATM machine that just walked in. Let me give you some ideas. You boop, boop, boop. And now here comes out the money. You see, you have to change the way you see yourself.
Yes. And I love that. We have to change the way we see ourselves. We're the conduit to a solution. And if you listen, I'm a big proponent too. If we can't solve that person's issues in front of us, hang on. I've got a low boatload full of resources. Yeah, I can't think of someone right there, but I promise you I will get back with you. Give me about 24, 48 hours to get this on my radar. Is being able to refer and walk out, because that's the other thing that desperation or that Haganiatic mindset does is, oh no, I'm going to take on everybody, and that we just cannot just take
No.
on everybody. We can't. Then we start burning energy where we don't belong, and then before you know it, we have hashtag a you know what show. So I like that. Love changing. I love that when you walk in, you're that ATM, beep, 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 that conduit, and here's the money. And guess what that money is going to do for that Harley Davidson owner? Not only allow to open up more stores, but serve more people that want to purchase a Harley Davidson. Whether it's a dream, whether it's a birthday mark, or whatever that may be, he or she will have more opportunities.
You know
Love
what? I
that.
want to say this too is you want to be able to make it easy. One of the things that sometimes people come and they will come into your box, you'll be like, oh my goodness. For example, let's say I want a person to help me make more videos like this and I want to put them on social media. And the person comes and says, oh my goodness, I saw your video. I would love to help you solve that. Okay, great. I would love that. But if they make it difficult, if they say you got to download this, then you got to do this, and then you got to do that, then you got to, they have just lost me because they didn't
Oh,
make it
me too.
seamless
Me
for
too.
me.
Yep.
I'm done. Make it easy. Make
Yeah.
it seamless. Make it
Yep.
natural and organic so that it flows in their process, which means back to what you said earlier, they have to be curious because they have to understand kind of what you're where you are. Somebody else might be like, "Oh, that's all I got to do is download this and boop boop boop, I'm done." But for me, I'm like, "Uh-uh. That was too many steps."
Well, I agree with you. That's the other thing. I've said that behind closed doors when I'm getting ready to go purchase something, or I'm like, y'all are just making this, and I can't think of anything specific, and nor would I shout anything specific out. But it's like y'all are making this hard to take my money, and it's like, and I am so not going to beg for you to take my money. Keep it simple, sister. Keep it simple, brother. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, because you you will lose your audience. You will. I mean, and I am either you can call me lazy. I don't know, but I need simplicity because it's like you. Once you start saying, okay, here's this video, now you got to go edit. You got to put this app, and it's like going Japanese. No,
Wah, wah,
yeah,
wah, wah,
no,
wah.
not gonna do it. Yep, yep, yep. Charlie Brown, school teacher. Bop, 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 bop. Not gonna do it. Just not gonna do it. All right, we're 30 minutes in. We've got a few more minutes yet to go. I want to pause here. Where can everybody get in touch with you, Yolanda?
So everybody can reach me at Yolanda at YolandaBO.com. That's Yolanda, YOLANDA, at Yolanda V as in victory O.com. Of course, because it's for voiceover. So yes, if they have questions, concerns, they want tips, I do help and I do share tips because I like what I do. When you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And that's the truth. So feel free to reach out.
That's true. All right, so I love this story. How you got into, oh my God, everyone listening, listen to Yolanda's voice. This is why she does voiceover. It is silky, beautiful, smooth, and vivacious. And anyway, so share the story how you got into voice. Oh, I love this story. With and it
You
involves Mark, your husband. I love this story. So how did you get in? Drop a banner down in front of you one day and go, Yolanda, you need to be doing voiceovers. I mean, how did you arrive to this?
So it was a long time ago. I met a lady who said I should look into it. I looked into it and I hated it. It was way back when. I ain't gonna tell y'all how long ago, but it was way back when. Back when you had to go to the studio to record stuff and you to do it at home. So I didn't like it, but I tried it, right? So you never know. You might try it, you might like it. I tried it, didn't like it. So I became a real hobbyist, meaning that every now and again people would hear my reel at the agent and they would say, "Can she come and do it?" And I would go do it. Then my husband heard my reel. And this was back when I lived in Pittsburgh. So I remember I told y'all I lived in Pittsburgh back when I worked at Ford Motor Company. He heard my demo reel. He was like, "Is this real?" And I was like, "No." I was doing Sprite, Obey Your Thirst back in the day. Sprite, Obey Your Thirst. I was doing that. And he was like, "That sounds like a real commercial." And I was like, "Yeah, nice, but mm-mm." So he was like, Yolanda, he kept encouraging me. And truthfully, this took years. So I have to say that because sometimes you can't hear or you don't see your own talent
Yeah.
within yourself. That hag in the attic is really loud sometimes, and it will keep you from where you should be. And he persisted. Every now and again, he would pepper me. He's a quiet guy. He's great at selling. He would always listen. And then he would say, "You want to do this? You should try that voiceover thing. You want to do that? You should try that voiceover thing." Then about 6 years ago, I wanted my kids to go to private school. And he was like, "Ooh, that's a whole bunch of money. But that's a problem. How can we solve it?" And I was just like, "Well, I got my real estate license. We could sell a house." And he was like, "But the babies are little. So how about you do that voiceover thing where you might be able to do that at home?" I said, "Okay." He was like, "Do me a favor, give it 6 months. 6 months. If it doesn't work, go do the houses. Be a real estate agent." Okay. I did it. First month, paid half of the kids' tuition. Second month, paid all the kids' tuition. And since that moment, all those years ago, I have not ever had to pay tuition again. And it was all because he saw the talent. I didn't see it. And then I met a beautiful lady. Her name is Celia Siegel. I'm going to say her name because she's my talent manager. And she saw where I could be. I couldn't see where I could be. And that
Yep.
goes to having a coaches because you
Yes.
want to have people around you who see where you can go. They're all salespeople. They sell, but they solve a problem and they see your story as chapters not written. And they see the words that could be in those chapters. I mean, even you working with me, it has really helped me to get to where I am today, and I wouldn't be here without it.
I'm a fan of Mark's, and don't tell him that, but tell him that I'm a fan of Mark's. He's just such a great guy. I love it. You're right. We all need coaches because coaches, first of all, can see our blind spots, and we can also see way up over here where you can go. Now, we're not going to take you and just jump off the cliff overnight, but yes, we can help get you there and take you out of those blind spots. And I know you've got a huge, big, hairy, audacious goal with that voiceover. You shared it with me. It was right before the holidays last time you were over here. You shared that with me. How close are you to that goal?
I am approaching. I'm still working on that goal. So we
Good.
got some months. We got some months to go. So we are still working on that goal. So
Good.
it
And I
is
love
a work in
it.
progress.
And I love the insight, your why you do this, because you love both. It's like I had asked you, and I I had and I believe I can say this on the air. So anyone from Harley Davidson that's like, I had asked her, I said, do you ever want to walk away from the corporate career and go into this own business? And she's like, heck no, I love doing both. I love doing both. And I believe that's one of your secret sauces, Yolanda, is first of all, of course, your energy, you're so vivacious, but I think that love and that passion for what you do, that's what helps you with the negotiations of the two kids and Mark and your mom family. I know you're very into your family and stuff like that, where you're not just running crazy and going every which way but loose. You are managing things, and that's because of your passion. And you're very passionate of both. You're very passionate. And it's nice that you're able to, with the flexibility, do both as well. Have managed those schedules. I love it. Kiva is on here, which doesn't surprise me because she's a voiceover person, and I'm sure she's in your voiceover
She
crowd here. But
is. She's
yeah,
my mentor. She's my mentor.
oh, I love it. She goes, "Hey, Yolanda Spearman is amazing." And I'm like, hello, Keeper. Yes, she is. And hey, Wendy, thanks for joining us. And I also see Don, who said insightful, Yolanda. All of you who are commenting, listening, we are not ignoring you. I really like to focus in on the guest. All right. So as we're coming around the bend of wrapping this show up, what, you know what? Wait a minute. I'm going to back up here. Here's what I want to know. You really claim your bold voice, Yolanda. You really do, especially with Harley Davidson and in your business, if your voiceover business. You really do. You're amazing at it. I want to know the last time when that hag popped up in your head and what did you do about it?
That hag pops up every day. I have to tell you, the hag never goes away. The truth is, the hag never goes away. Sometimes you walk into situations and you just don't know. I walk into them every day. I might walk into a dealership and I feel like, okay, we want them to do a lot. And they're going to say, hell no. So, how can we serve them? How can we solve their problem? What is it that they want? And sometimes I walk in with one agenda and I leave out with something else because it wasn't what they really needed.
Right, right.
So the hag stays there. But what happens is I keep people like you. I keep people like Kever. I'm a firm believer in coaches and mentors. And Kever is my mentor. She is my mentor for voiceover. Sometimes I get cold feet. I have a big job. And last night I had one and it was overseas. And I was doing the thing and I was up late. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be tired. What if, what if I need more water? What if my voice sounds crackly? It's late. And you start going through all these things, but you got to remember the thing. You're here as a facilitator to solve a problem, to share
Yep,
a story, and to
yep.
help a person get their message out there. If you focus on the end goal, you can always get past that old hag in the attic.
She's judgy, isn't she?
Yeah.
I'm taking a course right now on positive intelligence, and it's all around that mindset. And we all have that judge. I mean, judgy. Our main hag is a judge. We all have a judge. And then we have these accomplices that she or he loves to work with. So it's real interesting. But yeah, she's a real judgy bitch when she gets going. And we are always, when we get to that point of pushing ourselves out of, it could be the most minute, coming out of that comfort zone, the most minute step or a ginormous step, man, that's where that judgmental hag in the attic really starts chiming, and loves to pull out a bunch of things. So yeah, I like that. Rebecca was saying too, and I'm going to agree with Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca, I'll see you this weekend. Is that flexibility? It's like we're ebbing and we're flowing when I hear the word flexibility, and adapting while keeping the hag in check. We're all human, but it's what we do in that critical dialogue. Do we let that critical dialogue take us down? I call it a rabbit hole, or are we there momentarily, grab our skills, and let's move through it? That's, by the way, how we amplify our confidence and start managing that hag, so that hag doesn't control us and we go small and disappear like a little baby bunny rabbit. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right, wrapping up the show. Yolanda, what are your last words for everybody tuning in?
This is gonna sound so funny, but I want people to remember to ask for the sale. Because what happens is people are great at being curious. A lot of people are even great at listening and empathizing, but they're not great at providing the solution because they're afraid to say the price. And I'm going to tell you this. I am often afraid to say the price when it comes to voiceover. I have been very uncomfortable with that. So you know what I did? I have somebody else who does it for me. So Celia Siegel Management, her team asks for the sale for me. Because for me, if you love it, sometimes it's hard because you just love what you do. And I'm just like, shoot, yeah, I'll do it. No, you can't do that. You have to actually have set prices, and you have to remember, because honestly speaking, the stats are over 80% of the people never ask for the sale. What does that mean? It means to be direct, but be respectful. Remember that you're solving the problem from your curiosity and from your empathy. You're going back like that lady who was the designer. I love it that you said that about her, because what happened was she came in, she knew she had a solution to a problem, but she didn't listen and empathize. She
Right.
missed those pieces. And if
Yeah.
she could have come in and said, you know what? You said this and this, and I think you can still have your custom option within your budget.
Mhm.
Here's how we could do that. You would have been like, well, Johnny, let's go. But she didn't. So she missed the sale, and you're not going back to her.
No. Mm-mm. No, no, absolutely not. Yeah, I agree with you. And for those of you who do own businesses, and you're not in positions to be bringing on, or we're not in a service where we bring on agents to sit there and go and negotiate for us. We always, whether we're there always has to be a call to action. Look, I'm seeing people chiming in on the comments right now. These are all leaders. Everybody needs to be led somewhere. Or what happens is we all walk out and we're like herds of cattle, and we just don't know how to find our way back. We all need to be led by a call to action. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be sign on the dotted line and pull out your credit card. It
Oh,
may
that was
be another step of, okay, go and review the proposal or whatever the people need. That's one of my pet peeves. I mean, I've been in such, okay, so what's next? What's next? Because I'm not going to go home and sit there and scratch my head and go second guessing. And then I got to start chasing people down, because guess what? I'm not going to chase people down. So
that was
call
such a
to
good point.
action, call
Yes.
to actions.
That was a
Call.
really, really good point, because when you said something key. You said that the next step doesn't have to be the person signing on the dotted line. And I think that that's another hag in the attic moment, where you feel like a failure because you didn't get them to buy.
Right.
But if you got them to like you more, to trust you more, and to know you more, and now you have permission to communicate with them more, you won. Because it's not always about the sale. Sometimes it's about the relationship.
Mhm. It is. It's always about that relationship, and it just blooms from there. Oh my gosh, Yolanda, thank you so I haven't seen you in so long, and we are overdue for our coffee and muffins. You know that.
My muffin, I gotta have my muffin from wherever you buy it from. I love that muffin.
Those gluten-free muffins, they're outstanding. They are outstanding. But thank you so much for joining me and thank you for closing up this season with me today. So appreciate you. And remember, everybody, Yolanda's right here on LinkedIn. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. And you can also reach out to her as well. But I hope you're able to take so many feminine golden nuggets away around selling and not being salesy.
Yes, listen, empathize, solve problems, and you'll make more sales without being salesy. Take
Mhm.
care. As I always say, remember to make today and every day a
Yes,
fantastic one.
that's right. Everyone get out there and make it a great week. Thank you for joining us.